Turns out it was $4 million because he's never felt this excited and when he went to scratch and a ticket, he won. He chose the lump sum. That totaled around $2.5 million because he plans to pay off his debt and his family members. Tonight's problems on the coronavirus vaccine, the age group impacted and signs to watch out for. And tonight, the provider and the lawsuit against Eastern Michigan University. They say they were more after alleged rape on campus. Tonight, their story and their hope for the future and what they want to see happen. We thank you for joining us tonight with 7X News 7. We'll see you back here at 10. I'll be on video.
Chief Meteorologist Dave Lexlock with your first look tomorrow. Kevin Jeans, there for you first thing. County vocal and Mike Diller. First, to help you plan out your weekend. 7, First Alert weather. Thick, dark corners. A driveway and a patio. 5 windows that could become doors. Every house has unique security challenges. Guardian alarms, more tech, more teams, and more ways to help them all safe. Get a professionally designed and installed security and smart home system from Guardian Alarm. And get a free ticket by Guardian Alarm. Smart, right from the start. Stay. If you have a public interest fracture, now how do you best contact yourself? And that's all strong. Might as well look me for every 6 months. But don't take Prolia if you have low blood pressure. Take it if you have a serious allergic reaction to low blood pressure, trouble breathing, throat tightness, face slip or tongue swelling, rash itching or hot. Tell your doctor.
Councilmember Richards, are you over there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Could you do me a huge favor and just turn down your television before we get started?
Okay, I'll put it on mute
Okay.
completely.
Thanks, Carl.
Okay,
Yep.
my air conditioner, if that pops on and interrupts, I'll shut that off too.
All right. Hopefully that won't be as
Okay.
bad, though, Carl. We're gonna get ready to go here in just a minute.
Okay, I got I'm giving you full permission to cut me off if I get upset. We're talking to the HRC guy. Okay.
All right, Carl. Well, let's try and not let anything get like that today. Okay. We're gonna get ready to go here in
I'll
about a
try
minute.
to control myself.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
At this time, we'll call to order the regular city council meeting for May 24th, 2021. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. United States of America, and to the republic for
To
which
the flag.
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty. Thank you. We'll move on to the roll call this evening. We have Judy. Judy is filling in for Lisa tonight. We're going to try and make this as easy as possible on her. Please remember as we do the roll call to mention your location, please. Councilmember Dild, we'll start with you tonight.
I'm present in City of South Lyon.
Thank you. Councilmember Kurtzwell, your name says Councilmember Walton, but I know better, so go ahead.
Thank you. Present in the City of South Lyon, and just to explain very briefly, Mr. Mayor, I couldn't find the email with the Zoom link. So Rose sent me the email, so I'm actually coming in on her link. So that's why.
No problem. We had some technical difficulties over here before we got started, so it seems to be the trend today. Councilmember Walton,
I'm here in the city of South Lyon. Thank you.
thank you. Councilmember Kittle
I'm here in the city of South Lyon.
and Councilmember Kennedy
Present, City of South Lyon.
and Councilmember Richards.
I'm present. I'm here in the city of South Lyon.
Thank you. I'm also present, and I am at City Hall in the city of South Lyon. Thank you, Judy. I will try to not call you the wrong name tonight, as with you, Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Mr. Mayor, if I
Yes.
might, Councilmember Kurzweil, if you click on the upper right-hand corner, there should be 3 dots. If you click on that and then scroll down to rename, you can rename yourself. So
Where's the three, where's, I
Oh,
don't,
like
it's
in
if
your
you
personal
hover-
screen?
in your little square of your face. If you
Okay.
hover in the right-hand corner, there's 3 dots. If you click on that, it says rename and you can rename yourself.
it just gives me a
Okay.
mute or,
All right,
That's
well,
okay.
sorry.
Right
thought-
next to
thought
the
I'd help
mute.
you. Okay.
That's okay. Good effort, team. We're all right. With that, we're going to move on to the approval of city council minutes from May 10th, 2021. Councilmember Kibble,
I'd like to move the minutes.
I'll second.
motion in a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. Move on to the approval of the agenda this evening. Councilmember Dill,
I'll move the agenda.
I'll second.
motion in a second. Any further discussion on the agenda this evening? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. We have a proclamation this evening. I'm going to read it. In regards to National Gun Violence Awareness Day. This proclamation declares the first Friday in June to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in South Lyon, Michigan, to honor and remember all victims and survivors of gun violence, and to declare that we as a country must do more to reduce gun violence. Whereas every day 100+ Americans are killed by gun violence on average, there are nearly 13,000 gun homicides every year. Whereas Americans are 25 more times likely to be killed with guns than other in high-income countries. Whereas protecting safety in the communities they serve is the mayor's highest responsibility, and whereas support for the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens goes hand in hand with keeping guns away from people with dangerous histories. Whereas mayors and law enforcement officers know their communities best, are the most familiar with the local criminal activity and how to address it, and are best positioned to understand how to keep their citizens safe. Whereas by wearing orange on June 4th, 2021, Americans will raise awareness about gun violence and honor the lives of gun violence victims and survivors. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Daniel L. Pelchat, Mayor of South Lyon, County of Oakland, State of Michigan, do hereby proclaim Friday, June 4th, 2021 to be National Gun Violence Awareness Day in the city of South Lyon. I encourage all citizens to support their local community's efforts to prevent the tragic events of gun violence and to honor the value of human lives. Thank you for that. We move on to public comment this evening. Please remember to state your name and address, and please remember that we do have a 2-minute time limit for each of our public comments.
Alrighty. I have a Joe Free that has his hand up.
Okay, Joe, the floor is yours.
Can you guys hear me okay? If you can, thumbs up.
Yep.
Okay. My name's Joe Freeman. I live at 3013 West Lake Street, downtown South Lyon. It's have a young family that we walk to school every single day, and it's come to our attention how fast everyone's driving down West Lake Street. Upon further review, notice that the speed limit's 35 miles an hour from North Dixboro all the way down to North Mill, maybe 25 miles an hour in between, right around downtown. It's also my understanding that there was a traffic study done about 10 years ago, and I would challenge you guys for not only for the young families, guests and citizens of South Lyon that we redo that traffic study in the area that I described, as a lot has changed over the last 10 years. I also would bring to your attention how I feel that we have done our citizens an injustice with our crosswalks and lack of them. I think that especially from South Warren on West Lake Street, direct path to the elementary school, you could talk to the crosswalks there that they've almost been hit about 90 times per year. And all you really see are white marks, where our cousin downtown areas, Milford, Northville, Brighton, and even Wixom have done a better job at highlighting the crosswalks and doing a better job there. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman.
I have Ryan Lear.
Okay,
Good evening, council. I have a wonderful update tonight. I did post a video to the public earlier today, but this is for people that have not seen it. You can go to South Lyon News and Weather. That's the ambassador's page, and it's on YouTube. But I wanted to highlight a few things that happened this week. I was able to clean up the entire parade route for the parade starting next Monday. I did 5 bags of trash on Reynolds Street Parkway and cleaned up that whole stretch of area. And I talked to Larry Ledbetter. He's going to get a couple of scouts, and he's going to do another 4 full sweep through there and make sure it's clean for the parade. I cleaned up Paul Baker Park as well as the cemetery and the route all the way going to Stryker Street from downtown. When I was out there, I had a chance to visit with the South Lyon Fire Department as they were emptying out the fire hydrants and getting them nice and cleaned. And they thanked me for doing that job. And also I would like, because we had a previous long council meeting, I didn't get a chance to congratulate Mayor Pelchat on his announcement for mayor. And Dan, I wish you the best. I hope you'll let me campaign for you. And I will be giving 110% support to you as mayor. I hope you're mayor for as long as you want to be. I think you've done great through this COVID thing. And I'll tell you, it has been wonderful to sit on my porch and listen to you broadcast the football games. It's just been a wonderful time through a terrible stretch with this COVID thing going on. And so I want to thank you, Mayor Pelchat, for just trying to be the best outstanding mayor you can be. And that's all I have to the second comment. Thank you and have a great rest of the meeting.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Lair. Do we have anyone else for public comment here in the first round?
I don't see anyone else.
Okay. We will close public comment and we'll move on to the discussion of downtown. And Nate Mack.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks, Mayor Pelchat. I'll keep my report brief tonight. I guess I have some good news and I have some bad news for everyone. I'll start with the bad news. Last week, I was informed that our hanging baskets won't be ready until after Memorial Day because of a soil shortage. So we'll be looking to get those out the week after Memorial Day. I know it's unfortunate because everybody was looking forward to having those out, but with the pandemic and shortages seemingly everywhere, that's the case. Secondly, last week, myself and the DDA Design Committee spruced up the pocket park between Bob's Barbershop and the 12 Kitchenelles. We were out there Wednesday for most of the day, putting some new plants in there. We got some planters, and I stained the 3 planters that that are there, not were there, that are there currently. So that was just a pretty cheap project for us to do. I'm hoping it'll have a pretty high impact in the downtown that will draw people to want to be in that place a little bit more. We're hoping to make it more inviting for whoever's down there. So, and then one other thing, I'm hoping to have an application for a small winemaker license at 105 North Lafayette Street before you for the next council meeting. This is not a quota license, so it's not going to affect those licenses, whereas it's just a small winemaker license, so it's done through the state. They passed legislation a few years ago to allow for those. So just want to keep that on your radar. With that, that's my update for the evening.
All right. Well, we got a lot of hands up. We're going to go to Councilmember Walton first, and then we'll come to you, Councilmember Kibble.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nate, I have a question in regards to that Pocket Park. I think I saw something on Facebook asking for donations for that area. And I was a little confused of where that was coming in. But now that you've explained that the DDA was working on that, and so was the DDA asking for those donations?
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're referring to. So one of our volunteers, I think, was asking for donations for it. Either it was plant material or some sort of
they were asking for lanterns and everything and anything.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that, so I'm unaware of what that is in regards to specifically. I could reach out to them and see what they were requesting, however.
I was just curious, and I know that we
Okay.
took out the artwork out of there. The Cultural Arts was asked to remove it. And I'm curious about why we couldn't include that in that Pocket Park.
I don't know. I didn't make the request for the Arts Commission to remove the artwork, so I'm not sure why. I mean, it would obviously be welcome there. That's kind of, you know, the type of thing that we'd like to see there.
Right.
So I'm not sure where that request to remove it came from. So.
And also I have one other question of the DDA, if I'm allowed. It seems that the DDA originally stated that they were going to give 2,500 toward the memorial, and now they're saying we're only giving 500. Can you tell me where that change came in and why that change came in?
I'm not sure I know what you're asking. I didn't know that the DDA was going to give any money, to be honest, let alone $2,500 or $500. So I'm not sure. I don't know.
Paul, can you answer that?
Also, the memorial is outside of the DDA district. So
Not the memorial, the mural. If I said memorial, I apologize. I'm talking about the mural downtown.
Oh, no, we have always gotten a $500 grant for the mural on Grand Trunk. Back in October, I got a grant from the county for $500 for that. So.
And there's also money within the DDA budget for murals within the downtown within next year's budget.
Yeah.
And Paul, wasn't that $2,000, $2,500?
Yeah, I believe that is $2,000. And I think you can see that within this year's DDA, but the coming year's DDA budget.
Okay, because I think they are under the understanding that we changed it to 500. So we need to make sure that Cultural Arts understands that, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilmember Kibble. Oh, you're muted, Councilmember Kibble. Still muted, Councilmember Kibble. There we go.
There we go. Gosh. I was curious whether or not council member Kurzweil had suggested that Jarrett had given permission if there were something drawn up or the use of his property there, the outlot off of his building. And I was wondering if anybody's tried to formulate a plan that might end up being conducive to taking advantage of that offer.
We have not yet come up with a plan for that. So yeah, but that's something we can definitely look at doing soon.
Yeah, I think if somebody offers us an opportunity like that, I think we should be jumping all over it. Thank you.
Yep.
Councilmember Kurzweil, and then we're coming to you, Councilmember Dilk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to also add that the nurseries are having an extremely hard time this year. Nate mentioned the soil shortage. I think also there is a problem with containers. Containers are made with oil products, the plastic, and petroleum products, and the cost has gone up. And nurseries are having a hard time just getting basic supplies. Additionally, their crops were pretty much depleted last year, and it takes a good 18 months to replenish your supply. So they're short on supply. Demand is very high. And probably the most important is the problem with the enhanced unemployment benefits, particularly here in the state of Michigan. The labor shortage that everybody is experiencing is related to the enhanced unemployment. I believe when I spoke with Duke, he is used to operating his business between 10, 15 people. He's operating under 5. So the problem is getting labor also. So so you have a lot of factors in play, but I'm sure we'll get our flowers at some point. Thank you.
Councilmember Dill, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say that the Pocket Park looks great, Nate. I walked by it a couple times when I didn't really know what was going on exactly. And I just was like, look at how beautiful this looks. Took some pictures there, and I really appreciated seeing you out there getting dirty, planting. So I just wanted to tell you how good it looks.
Thanks.
Really quick, I also busted Nate and team out there as I was going to get my hair cut last week. So thank you for your efforts on that, Nate. It does look very nice. And whoever else was in on that as well.
Thanks. Yeah, if I could just
yep.
quickly mention who helped with that, sorry.
Please.
It was Annie Butchup from the Lemon Tree, Jean Carroll, and then Emily Gray are all volunteers for the design committees, and they all helped out. So
thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Does anyone have anything else for Nate this evening? All right, great. Thanks, Nate.
Thanks.
On to the fire chief report this evening, and Chief Vogel.
Good evening, Mayor. Just to touch base on what happened today with DTE. There was multiple issues. I think about half the city lost power and then a good portion of Green Oak. I checked the outage map and I think everything's back on. I know that there was a pole fire in Green Oak, and I'm not sure what was happening at the power station across from the police station, but they were definitely working for a couple hours. Sunday, yesterday, we met with our vendor regarding the rescue. It's done. They're just putting on the last couple touches, and I will probably be heading up after Memorial Day with the staff to do a final walkthrough and bring it home. We also met with the vendor for the ladder truck, and the committee pretty much met all day yesterday. We're trying to get that last final price. We know what the goal is. I'm confident we're going to be way under the goal, and hopefully we'll be ready for movement in July. And then finally, the current ladder truck was utilized at a fire yesterday, which worked great until we tried to put it down and it wouldn't behave. So we had to manipulate it, and we finally got it down. We spent many hours this morning, and we finally got it back working for minimal cost. So I'm pretty happy it's back in service. That's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Thanks, Chief. Anyone got anything for Chief tonight? Councilmember Walton, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Chief, I've been out of town and I just want to make sure I didn't miss the event to see the new truck.
It's come. Oh, I should have mentioned that. Thank you. The vendor mentioned it's coming. We're pretty excited. So probably first or second week of June, they promised me a half day. I'm going to make sure that we kind of have it kind of like 7:30-ish time where people from council can come, and we'll probably get it an hour before to play with. And then I'm going to hopefully everybody can come and really take a look at it and make sure that this is the truck we want. I'm pretty confident it is, but I want you all to feel confident in that purchase too. So
Excellent.
still budgeted time for it. Thank you.
I'm just hoping you can give us adequate notice so I can request time off to be there.
Me too. And matter of fact, they're pretty flexible. If a weekend works better for you, let me know, or later evenings, just let me know. I don't want anybody to have to miss it. So if you want to email me, I would love to, try to work around your schedule, because we're pretty open. So.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
Anyone else have anything for Chief Vogel tonight? All right. Thanks, Chief.
Mm-hmm.
Yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm assuming, I didn't hear my name, but I'm assuming I'm next, so.
Yeah.
Got a couple things here for you. So in connection with your proclamation regarding the National Gun Violence Awareness Day, folks, we have gun locks at the police department, hundreds and hundreds of guns locked. So if you have 10 or 20 guns and you want 10 or 20 locks, come on up, take them, and we will give them to you at no charge. So we're doing what we can to help with the reducing the gun violence. Just lock those things up if we can. The story came out about Officer Baker and 4-year-old Casey, the little young lady who wants to be a police officer that came out in Hometown Life. Great little story, great little article. If you want to catch that, check it out. As far as going through reports, we finished going through about 60 years of police reports. We were able to take 122 boxes and condense it down to 21. And tomorrow we have a shredding company coming in to get rid of about 70 of those banker boxes. So we're looking forward for having the space for that and get that going. Our phones are still working. We had a little glitch today with the power, but we were actually able to forward our phones from an app on our phone. So the functionality is really great to it. So, and I got two quick calls for service I want to read to you. Calls for service is a lot of times we go out and we do, public relations events or community ordering policing events. We stop into businesses and we stop, people at Volunteer Park or on the bike path, and we just kind of have some, some communication with them. But there's two of them that I just want to read to you real quick. So they stopped and spoke with the male and female in front of the listed address. They thanked me for my service and wanted to let me know that they were pulled over yesterday around 9:30 p.m. by a South Lyon officer. They advised it was the best experience they have had with an officer and wanted to say thank you. I advised them I would pass on the message. They thanked me and I cleared. And one more. On the above date, I stopped and spoke with a woman who was going on a walk. Being that it was almost midnight, I asked her if everything was okay. She told me she was just getting some fresh air and was almost home. She pointed at her house, which is right behind me. She thanked me for my time and told me she lives alone, so she feels safe knowing that we drive through the neighborhood. So those are just a couple of our calls for service that we have, and we have close to 40 of these every week. It's intentional, our context of our community, to make you guys feel safe, and our commitment to the safety of the community. So like I said, we have those every week, but I'm really proud of the efforts that we're making just to communicate and I guess coordinate and try and provide the best safety we can. And just those little things make all the difference, in our little small town. So I'm just proud of the guys that the efforts that we put forward toward this, and just thank you guys for your support. And that's all I have today, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Chief. Councilmember Dill, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Really quickly, that's a really great, Chief, and I hope that you read those occasionally or post those on Facebook sometimes just to get that out there.
I will.
And in that same vein, I don't know if I've seen this lately, but with the gun locks, do you think you could post that on Facebook as well? You get a pretty good following there. I think that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. We just happened to find like 10 boxes when we were going through our storage area, moving things from one to the other. So we participated in a program about 7 or 8 years ago, and they said, hey, how many do you want? And I said 50. And so the next thing you know, a big pallet of 50 cases showed up. I'm like, okay, so we've been giving them out for the last 7 or 8 years. So absolutely, I'll post something on Facebook about that tomorrow. Come get them.
That would be great. Thank you so much. That's all I have.
Councilmember Kibble, go ahead.
Chris, I was wondering, the 70 boxes that you guys are getting ready to toss, do you have an obligation to have scanned that material or anything so there is some record?
No, I mean, as far as the records retention, we're actually not supposed to have those. We're not supposed to be holding on to those records. Certain crimes have a certain statute of limitations that we have to keep. Some, murders and criminal sexual conduct cases have certain things, but, most of our cases are 40, 50 years old and we're way beyond what we should have been keeping them. So we're getting rid of everything lawfully that we should get rid of tomorrow.
Yeah, terrific. Yeah, just benign stuff. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anyone else have anything for Chief Sovic tonight? All right, great. Thanks a lot, Chief.
Yep.
All right, with that, we will move on to our public hearing for millage rates. We will open the floor for the public hearing at 7:55.
Mr. Mayor, at this time, anybody can make comments or make questions regarding the proposed 2021-22 budget. If there are any comments or any questions, we can address it during the next agenda item under unfinished business.
Judy, do you know if we have any virtual hands or real hands up over there?
I have no hands up. I see Maggie though.
Oh, okay. All right, well, we will close the public hearing for the millage rates at 7:56. And we'll move on to unfinished business 2021-2022 budget approval.
All of you received the proposed 2021-22 budget document. Tonight's meeting, we just recently held the public hearing for the budget. Now you will consider the approval of the millage rate resolution and also consider the approval of the 2021-22 budget resolution. I've noted inside your note in your packet today regarding the additional 1 mil levy discussed at prior budget meetings is being placed within the general fund. The additional general fund or amounts transferred from the general fund will go to local and major streets via a fund transfer each year. We've included the millage rate resolution and annual budget resolution for your packet, as well as budget sheets that reflects additional revenue and changes with that additional mill. Tonight, your possible courses of action is that we hold a public hearing, 21-22 budget, and then under two separate motions, approve or not approve the millage rate resolution and the budget resolution. We're here to answer any questions that you may have.
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
First off, there is a correction necessary in the resolution itself. It should actually be 16.9307, or excuse me, 17.9307. She didn't carry the one or something, so that's kind of an important stickling thing.
Is that all you had, Councilmember Kivel?
That is actually.
Okay. Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Yes, I just want some clarification. Does this budget millage resolution include an increase in a mill?
Yes, it does. As was discussed at the last couple of meetings and was proposed was the additional mill that we discussed, that we are still under the maximum levy that we're allowed to levy for the city of South Lyon.
Did we vote on that?
You would be voting on it tonight. That's why the last couple of meetings I brought up regarding any questions regarding that, if anybody had any favoritism or didn't want to have it or whatever, in any sort of reason. And then obviously we can talk about that this evening. If council chooses not to levy that additional mill, you can choose to do that.
Well, I sure don't want to be levying a mill until I have seen the state revenue share numbers, which I understand have increased. And I'd like to see what is coming out of the infrastructure bill out of Washington, D.C. I'd like to see what kind of money is going to be coming to the states, and that would be available to us to apply to roads. I personally am not prepared to vote for an increase in a mill tonight. I was not aware that it was going to be seriously considered. But that's just me. I'm only one vote. So thank you.
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
As far as our needs are concerned, irrespective of what the feds or the state are going to be offering up, we're still going to be way behind the 8 ball. So this mill is something, it's been difficult to justify that we haven't captured this already, knowing how back, I don't know, 10 years ago, we could have been making some improvements with this extra revenue to try to keep the roads from deteriorating as far as they've gotten now. We're in a long stretch to find a solution to this. This is just the first drop in the bucket that we're going to need to be able to fix the roads. So,
Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
Just to emphasize what Councilmember Kivel has said, that is absolutely the case. Following the Great Recession of 2008, property values dropped, and they've been increasing at the restricted rate of the rate of inflation, or 5%, whichever is less, for the last 13 years. We are woefully behind where we would have been had we not experienced the Great Recession. And as was mentioned during one of the budget meetings, We are one of about 3% of the municipalities in Michigan that do not levy the full millage that they're authorized to levy. And to that extent, I'd like to go ahead and make the motion to approve the millage rate resolution.
I'll support.
We have a motion and a second. Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a city manager by the name of Rod Cook, who very diligently and carefully and strategically was able to put money aside in a budget for many, many years for road repair. Then the Great Depression hit. Some call it a recession. It was a depression that hit. And it's been interesting to see what happened to that road money as it was used at various points through various city managers to fund certain items in the general fund. In other words, the money was shifted. So I am not in favor of raising any mill for roads, particularly when there's been a history where that fund has been robbed in periods of financial strain. So I don't think that the city has the appropriate checks and balances in place in order to protect that money and secure it for roads and maintenance. Rod Cook did a brilliant job, but unfortunately, city managers after him took advantage of his hard work that he had. And every year, Rod made some sort of changes to repairs to the roads. I think at one point that fund was close to $1 million. And Rod was able every year to go into the city and do some repair, as minor as it may have been. He planned for it. And I've seen the history of how the city has managed that fund, and I don't feel secure that they've got the things in place, the checks and balances to secure that funding solely for roads. So again, I can't support the increase in the mill tonight.
Councilmember Dill, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess I would just like to ask the city manager what kind of plan we have to protect it.
Well, as we would state, and as we can state within this motion as discussed, and I just want to make sure that we do in fact make mention of Councilman Kivel's correction to the millage rate that was stated overall in Mr. Kennedy's motion also. Our checks and balances are the city council decides the budget. The checks and balances are the council has the budget before them, approves the budget, and that particular dollar amount would in fact be transferred to major streets. And from there, it could be transferred to local streets. Can't be transferred from local streets to major, but it can be transferred from major to local streets. So I'm not sure regarding what the question is regarding checks and balances. The checks and balances are there. It's the budget that you approve is what we have to go by and what we have to do as employees and our fiduciary responsibility with the city. That there is still a fund balance within major streets and local streets, but there is certainly not enough in order to do the $40+ million worth of road improvements that we need for a city. This additional mill will only raise approximately $417,000 within its first year, and is not even a drop in the bucket for what we need to do each year. We need to do some in a range of $2 to $2.5 million road improvements every single year, just to really start catching up for the number of new subdivisions that have been in over even the last 10 years, to do maintenance on those and make repairs to subdivisions that have been in place for 40+ years. And those are some of the discussions that will occur later on in tonight's meeting. If council does in fact decide that they do not want to levy this additional mill and wants to move forward in another plan, that's okay, but this budget approval cannot be tied to what's happening with what's going on with the federal government or in fact the state legislature, because you are approving the millage rate now that will be levied with this July. Any additional changes will have to wait till next year's budget year and would have to wait for anything else that might occur.
Councilmember Kivel, if it's okay with you, I'd like to go to Patricia first. She might be able to provide some insight before we go with any more questions. Patricia,
I
the
don't
floor
have
is
a
yours.
question. Actually, I'd like to kind of do a synopsis of why Rod was able to be as successful as he was. It's actually a very important aspect of how we got where we are. When Rod took over, this was a kind of an opportunity for people that wanted to invest in and develop raw land. We had water, we had sewer, and we had dirt. We had developers that decided this was a very promising place to make money. So the money and the taxes that were being gathered during the course of the boom years in the early or the late 80s and early 90s, we were flush with money to be able to do an awful lot of things. The city hall, the district library, and road improvements. All those things came as a product of our growth. Unfortunately, when we kind of got boxed out by the township deciding that they were going to throw down hard borders of where we could grow to, that pretty much pulled the plug on our ability to maximize that growth rate. So we've been kind of struggling along with our existing footprint with only minor opportunities for people to have some new developments in town. And you can see how some of these are, really lingering. Sing has been online for what, 8 years? The place by the high school, they seem to be actually growing faster than what the Sing development is, but we haven't had an awful lot of other things that have really been cash cows for us to be able to capitalize on fixing roads with. So I think that it's important that that's recognized in why we're in the position that we're in now. It's not because we had a bunch of terrible city managers or that Rod was magic. We had great circumstances that just kind of fell off the edge. And now we're trying to struggle to find a solution that doesn't have to be reliant on new development. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hate to go back a few discussions ago, but I just wanted to comment on Councilmember Kivel's first comment about the mill count on the resolution. Those numbers are correct. The overall mills that we're allowed to levy, that is the number that we've gotten from the state, and that was reviewed by City Clerk Treasurer Deaton before this meeting. It is 15.9307 mills overall, and what we are requesting in this resolution is 16.4938 mills.
That is what we're requesting, but when you add the library on there, that's what takes it to the 17.
Correct, but the library is not considered as part of this resolution. That's a separate mill that's separated.
Why is it
from
in
the cities.
why is it in the narrative then? First, resolve further.
I'm not sure with that language, and I apologize that City Clerk Deaton isn't here to answer that question. That would be more in her realm. It's over my knowledge. I apologize, but I do know that those two numbers are the accurate numbers of what the city has an overall allowance to raise and what we're requesting.
Well, that may be true, but when you add the library millage and what we're suggesting our millage will be, it's 17.9307.
Okay.
Not 16.
All right, well, we have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy, supported by Councilmember Kivel to approve, the millage rate resolution. Do we have any further discussion before I ask for a roll call vote? Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
I'm concerned with just leaving this on the table. It seems as though an official decision should be made on that language. Either we take that part out of the resolution, or we make the math work.
The math is correct, as you had stated, Mr. Kivel. It is 17.9307. If you look at last year's budget, it was 16.9307. So that is correct. It is stated in here. It was reviewed by Lisa, and that number needed to be adjusted. That is our mistake on that. So it would just need to be the person who made the motion to make that correction to the motion.
Yep.
And then the seconder needs to correct that as well.
Councilmember Kennedy, I'm assuming that's why your hand was up.
Yep, so I'll make the motion to approve the millage rate resolution to the adjusted amount of 17.9307.
I'll support.
All right. So we have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy, supported by Councilmember Kibble to approve the millage rate resolution. If there is no further discussion,
As
I'm
amended.
gonna, yes, as amended, thank you. And I will ask Judy to lead us in a roll call vote, please.
Thank you. Councilmember Walton,
No.
Councilmember Richards,
No.
Councilmember Kivel,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Kurtzwell,
No.
Councilmember Dill,
Yes.
Mayor Pelchat,
Yes. Motion passes.
motion passes 4-3.
Thank you. Judy? Councilmember Kennedy, please go ahead.
I think we need to make the motion for the second part to approve the annual budget resolution as well. So I will make that motion.
Okay, I was gonna ask you, all right. All right, so we have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy,
I'll second.
supported by Councilmember Gill. Do we have any further discussion? Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Thank you. Does the budget resolution include the increase of the 1 mil?
Oh, sorry, Patricia, go ahead.
Sorry, I just didn't want to speak. Thank you, Mr.
Nope.
Mayor. Yes, the budget before you has the 1 mil increase in the general fund.
So you already increased the mill before you even had the vote.
Yes, per the documents that we provided at the last council meeting.
Thank you.
So we have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy, supported by Councilmember Dill to approve the annual budget resolution. Any further discussion? Councilmember Kittle.
Yes, it is with the additional mill because that was the lead that we were playing under for the last 3 discussions we've had. So it made sense to have the mill in the next budget resolution.
Judy, would you, when you are ready, please lead us in another roll call vote?
Councilmember Dilg,
Yes.
Councilmember Kivel,
Yes.
Councilmember Richards,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Walton,
Yes.
Councilmember Kurtzwell,
No.
Mayor Pelchat.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Judy.
Mhm.
All right, we'll move on to unfinished business number 2 this evening, adoption of ordinance to amend the City of South Lyon zoning ordinance and official zoning map of the City of South Lyon in their entirety. Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
Well, this has been pretty thoroughly gone through, so I'd like to just go ahead and make the motion that we approve the recommendation from Planning Commission for the approval of the South Lyon zoning ordinance and official zoning map.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kibble, supported by Councilmember Kennedy. Do we have any further discussion?
I have something to say.
Councilmember Richards, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just like to say this will pass, but I want to give everybody a notion of awareness on something here. I'm not going to reiterate what I said in the last meeting, but I will add this. Whatever master ordinance we have for the city and how it ever plays out in the future, the greatest responsibility for this rests on the Planning Commission and should not rest on City Council to correct everything and try to ward off disasters. Things that have gone through over the last 10 years, there's been some disasters, okay? And unless we get a planning commission that can see the difference and understand the facts and will accept the facts that are presented to them, for such as underground geology and water table and many other factors that frequently are ignored, this new ordinance, zoning ordinance, may not really work that well as we hoped it would. The greatest responsibility is with the Planning Commission. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Richards. Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
Unless there's any other discussion, I believe we have a motion and a second.
I don't believe we did.
No?
Yeah.
Did we, Kelly? I'm sorry.
Yeah, we've got a motion from Kivel and second by Kennedy.
Yes.
I apologize. I did not get that scribbled down before we got into that conversation. So we do have a motion in a second. And if we do not have any further discussion. All right, Judy, could you please lead us in another roll call vote? Thank you.
Sure. Councilmember Kurtzwell,
No.
Councilmember Dilg,
Yes.
Councilmember Walton,
No.
Councilmember Kivel,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Councilmember Richards,
Yes.
and Mayor Pelchat.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you, Judy.
You're welcome.
Unfinished business number 3 this evening, city road improvement plan discussion.
The city and city council has had several discussions over the last year regarding the city road improvement program. City council first discussed the PACER ratings that was distributed to council back in July of 2020, where we also discussed a road and asset management plan. And in September 2020, we discussed improvement plan and options. In October of 2020, we also discussed the funding options. Tonight, we're having a discussion regarding project planning. Materials attached for council is the memo on the road improvement plan, project planning, the city roadmap, updated road repairs costs, updated graphs on yearly road investment, color maps depicting potential projects with costs. Tonight, we have discussion regarding the funding options pertaining to the city road improvement plan, and we'll be looking for direction regarding this. The city currently receives about $1 million per year in road funding through the state through Act 51 funds. The revenues received from state gas tax distributed to local municipalities through local streets and major streets based upon population and road miles under our jurisdiction. Act 51 funds are used to pay for wages and benefits associated with costs, routine maintenance, patching, sweeping, snow plowing, salting, applications, storm sewer repairs, traffic services, signals, and equipment. The current funding we receive through Act 51 distribution is inadequate to fully fund any type of road improvement program, because additionally, through our PACER study, we identified that 90% of our roads were in fact within poor condition. One scenario that we could fund a road improvement plan is through a voted millage, an increase dedicated specifically to roads. This raises the most amount of money, therefore has the greatest impact on the repairing the roads. Each mill increase will increase revenue approximately $417,000. The program could also use some city road and general fund revenue and coupled with the millage increase to improve the roads by paving whole subdivisions one at a time. And every few years, the generated revenue could be used in several different areas in municipal and multiple segments of road to have a much greater impact on making repairs on city roads. A funding method, potentially millage voted increase plus Act 51 funds and general revenue would generate approximately $2 million per year. We've attached a couple sections or subdivisions of the city that identifies how the road funding program could work in those areas. We first identify the costs for repaving or reconstruction in a particular subdivision. If there are sanitary sewer or water main repairs that are needed in the area of road work, those items are bid with the project and are paid for by water and sewer funds, but still bid out to get economies of scale and then prior to putting down pavement. This type of large scale project only occurs if we get the additional funds with a voted millage increase, which would pay for the road improvement project in that subdivision. Part of the buy-in will be a full marketing plan with public meetings where the public can see what costs to repair the roads. A 10-year voted millage increase will not fund all the necessary road improvements that are needed within the city. However, we will touch as many roads as possible to make a greatest impact with the dollars raised. Excuse me. And it's a major step forward in maintaining and improving our infrastructure. If a new millage would be placed on the ballot language would designate that the dollars raised would only be used for costs associated with the road improvements. If the millage is placed on the ballot and passed in a November election, the dollars would not be collected until the following summer tax bill. However, the city could potentially fund design and other work through the use of general fund and Act 51 money in advance to ensure that the project could be completed the following summer after the passage of the millage and before all tax dollars are collected. The average homeowner would pay approximately $125 per year in additional on their taxes to fund a mill per 1 mill increase. Fund raised through the millage increase would be deposited in interest-bearing capital improvement fund until projects are designed, bid, and constructed. If a total year's revenue is unutilized, the remainder will be kept in a road fund and applied to the next project. Funds can only be used as described in the ballot proposal and cannot be used for city operating expenses. Project priority will be based on PACER rating, road surface conditions, age, and additional information on our 23.5 miles of local streets and 4.5 miles of our major streets. Underground utilities will be assessed prior to bidding out any of these projects. The implementation of the road improvement plan will be the result of an ongoing process of road improvement priorities, developing the scope of the work, which could include road, storm sewer, water main, and sanitary sewer work, and designing, soliciting, and awarding the bids. Each year, the city will review and revise priorities whenever necessary. We've attached information on estimated costs in 2020 for the various methods of improving road conditions, everything from routine crack filling to structural overlay to total reconstruction. Another alternative for funding roads would be through a special assessment district. The special assessment district would entail getting 51% of the property frontage in an area to approve the improvements. And I've outlined for you all the applications, the petition circulations, the resolutions, and the public hearing before the award of bid. If no additional millage is passed, the establishment of an SAD would be needed for every single road grouping that would be done, i.e. individual streets or subdivisions. As you can see, this is a long, tedious process which could potentially be halted at numerous stages through the process. The Special Assessment District, the SAD, is usually resident initiated, and we use a combination of existing road funds and public Special Assessment District funds to pay for the project. Most likely is a 75 to 25 split, or you could change that percentage if you desire. The total cost for improvement on a particular street would be approximately $10,000 to $15,000 for a mill and overlay, and between $20,000 and $25,000 for reconstruction per household. If the city decides to take out a bond to fund any improvement program, whether it's through an SAD or millage increase, there would be approximately additional costs of about 15% for bonding and interest. Since there are no federal or state programs to fund local subdivision road improvements, these are two alternatives that we must look at if we want to create a road improvement program. I've given you an example of what a sample ballot language might look like. In any ballot language, we need to go through approvals through city, county, and state within the allotted time. Tonight, we're going to be looking for direction from City Council on moving forward, right-sizing the road improvement program. We'd ask for any questions that you have moving forward. We've identified for you by industry standards the condition of all our roads, which was mentioned last July when it hit total of $41 million in road improvements that are needed to be done. And we talked about how the city could start a road improvement program. We would do the following. Year one would be a subdivision, whether we decide to mill, overlay, or reconstruct it. Year two could be the same subdivision, mill, overlay, or reconstruct. And the third year could be a citywide asphalt or concrete patching program, which would hit more subdivisions and would impact more residents. And then the following year, we'd basically be repeating the cycle. We will continue to identify underground utilities that need repairing, which might have an effect on which roads might be repaired earlier or later. We create that road committee comprised of people who are interested in working on getting the word out in a road improvement program and who would participate in public meetings, forums, and town hall presentations. In order to move this forward, if we are in fact going to go for a millage increase on the ballot to let the electorate decide in November on whether to fund this program, we need to continue to have these meetings because by the end of July, we would need to make the decision and submit that information to the county for ballot language approval. If there's any additional information that you need to assist in making a decision on what funding method to use to repair the roads, please let us know. Right now, we're going to kind of go through some of the presentation. We have Mike Darga here from Hubble, Roth & Clark, as well as Roland Alex. They have information that they can show to you, which we will have shared on the screen, which identifies the two areas that we have shown that are potential projects for subdivisions. I'm not sure if Mike or Roland's going to talk first, and whether one of you want to share your screen on that right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to share it right now, actually. All right. Is it up there?
Yep.
Okay. You guys have seen this chart before. It shows kind of what our average pacer rating right now is. 1 is the worst, 10 is the best. Right now, the average city road is at 2.3. Which puts it in a poor condition. Looking at this, the do nothing approach, you can see the road pacer rating goes down, down to 1.17 there. So just to pretty much stay even at our 2.3-ish pacer rating, it'd take about $800,000 a year in road improvements. And then you could see incrementally, another $400,000 will get you, start moving you in the right direction. You get up to $2 million a year and you're looking, you're pushing that 3.6, 4 pacer rating. Looking, so here's the grouping of the roads. You can see there's not much blue. I think there's only one street on here that was blue. Couple of yellows in the fair, and most are red. And these are all your city streets. You'll notice that the county roads are not included on this, nor are the federal aid roads, Dorothy and McMahon. Usually with road improvement plans, you're looking at, you kind of want to catch the roads, when they're at about a 5 or a 4 and do some improvements then, bump those back up to 6s or 7s. Unfortunately, we're a little bit below that point right now. So what we did is we looked at 2 different scenarios here. We've been talking about this Hagedorn area for a couple of years now. So what we did is we looked at, what would, a $1 million, $2 million project, what would that look like for the city? We've done the sanitary sewer investigation here. We know that the sewer on North Hagedorn needs to be replaced, which is going to impact the road. Same thing with the sewer on Ridge Street. So that is why those are joined together, segment one. Together, that is about $1 million worth of road improvements. So back at that chart, if just doing a $800,000 a year, that would take you you need 2 years worth of money to attack that project. So while we're in the subdivision, it makes sense to pave as many roads as you can. You get a little bit of economies of scale. Usually you want to start in the back and pave your way out. But I mean, North Hagedorn is probably the worst road there and it's most traveled. So that if we go through and pave that first, when you come back years later, you're going to have your construction traffic driving over your new road. You try to avoid that, but it's not the end of the world. Then we looked at adding, Crest and Chester and such. But you're looking at $3 million just in pavement in this area. So looking at another area, this is the university streets. I kind of randomly picked this area because it is a mixture of concrete and asphalt. Doing repairs just to the asphalt roads, you're over $1 million, $1.2 million there. Same thing with the concrete, you're at 1.2. So looking back at that, just doing $800,000 a year, you're not going to be able to do all of those roads in 1 year. You have to spread that out, or it'd be spread out in a couple smaller projects. So that, like the other concrete road that I was looking at would be Mill Street. I mean, that gets heavily used and kind of benefits a lot of those subs to the north. And I think there's sanitary sewer repairs we have to do there. So that would, kind of be a concrete road that would be moved towards the front of the list. So this is just an overview of kind of what your money would be spent on and how big of a project you would experience. Is there any questions?
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
The Hagedorn areas work, was that with adding storms to that whole section?
No, that was, I think we plan on using the existing, a lot of the stuff uses the existing storm, but there is money in there for rehab to storm systems, probably some new structures. Usually you put all new castings on, but it's not like you're putting new curb and gutter and new storm through the whole road, but you would just be repairing what's there.
Thank you. This does illustrate, though, how complicated things are going to be for us. If you're not in one of the people that are in one of the prize first come kind of projects, you're probably going to be a little bit more resident to try to flip the yes vote when you know that you might end up being, in the 10th year to be able to have your sub dealt with. So, I mean, there isn't a great solution here. I just think that I think we've got a hard road in front of us to sell this.
I mean, roads aren't getting any cheaper either to repair. So, I mean,
You're right.
Now's the time to do something, or future generations could have a bigger problem than you have.
Councilmember Dill, go ahead.
Thank you. I mean, I think that's why we're in this position in the first place, is because they kicked it down the road. But now I just blanked on my question because I thought of that. When we decide, when we have these marketing campaigns and we put out there what the plan is prior to the vote, are we going to outline who who goes first, basically, or are we just gonna say that's, I mean, is that plan gonna be out there?
We're talking about identified in a road improvement program. It wouldn't necessarily say this one would be in this year, this one would be next
Right,
year.
okay,
Because some of those conditions are going to be constantly changing based upon road conditions or based upon utilities that we're going to be looking at also that need to be done. I think, the council has identified in the past that this subdivision was perhaps the worst, or if not the worst, or one of the worst within the community. And I think based upon that expression, as well as the original intent to allocate dollars a couple of years ago, that this one would be on the forefront of in fact getting done. But the other subdivisions, it's very difficult to make that determination because they are in fact, rated 1, 2, 3s, and 4s, those lower numbers. We're gonna have to go through and identify and do core samples of each section of road tonight. Not only identify the top pavement, which was basically analyzed within the PACER study, but also look at some of the roads because some of them were capped with asphalt, were in fact concrete underneath, or in fact checking out the sub base to see if any major repairs need to be done there. If that's find out that was a reason why they did in fact fail within the past. But we identified that we needed to continue to move this process along and do something. That is a number one constant call that we get out at the city is what are we doing with the particular roads? And the city does not have an additional $2.5 million to make improvements to these roads every year. As we take on new subdivisions or new roads, or as subdivisions begin to age, those road conditions generally get worse and worse. And because we had not put, let's say, $1 million into each one of the roads for the last 10 or 20 years, now we're at this point where we have to do something. And I think everybody realizes that as well.
right. I don't think anyone is going to be shocked that Hagedorn goes first, but I was actually kind of hoping that that there wasn't going to be a plan laid out for when each subdivision goes. Same concerns that Councilmember Kivel had, is that, if that you're not going, if your subdivision isn't getting paid for 10 years, you're not going to vote no and be like, well, if I don't get it, nobody gets it. So that's kind of what I was hoping for.
Councilmember Kivel, go ahead.
I think there is an awful lot of positive narrative that we can try to get people to digest, though. Obviously, your home values and things go up when you have nice, safe roads that everybody can take advantage of. So instead of trying to go in there and say, well, it won't be as crummy, let's try to paint a little brighter picture for where we end up landing, and just try to build on the fact that this will end up adding substantial future growth in the value of your properties because we have good roads as well. So.
Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
So Paul, just verify that I understand this properly, looking at some of the pros and cons of the two approaches that you've listed here. Levying putting out a millage increase and asking the voters to vote on it, that basically distributes that obligation across all of the residents for the city. All 12,000 residents will see that reflected in their ongoing property taxes over the period of time that the millage has been voted in for, versus the special assessment district that applies to just a specific location where, if somebody was to sell their house in that location before that obligation is fully satisfied and paid off, they could potentially have a 15, 20, whatever the $25,000 obligation sitting there as a lien on their property when they sell that house. It would have to be cleared before they could transfer title to the new owner. Is that right?
That's a possibility. They don't necessarily have to clear those before, but it is something that is mentioned, obviously, in negotiations. All SADs don't necessarily have to be cleared before that house is sold.
Okay, but it could end up being that situation.
Yes, because it still is obviously a cost that's going to be incurred by the new owner. So those are always discussed because it is technically a lien on that property.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The people that I have spoken to regarding the road issue is particularly those individuals from the subdivisions. They seem to be pretty understanding of the Hagedorn and Ridge area, Ridge Street area. And anybody who disagrees, I always tell them, you know, here's how you get to Hagedorn, drive down and take a look at it. And they usually come back and say, you're right, but our sidewalks are horrible. So I don't know if the resistance is going to be that great, because I think people do have an understanding that the subdivisions are newer and that the downtown area, especially the Hagedorn area, really needs some assistance. I just don't see where that's a big issue. It's pretty obvious. The issue I hear, once again, coming out of the subs is more about sidewalks than it is about roads. Now do their streets need repairing? Yeah, but not like Hagedorn, not like North Ridge, not like Oak Ridge. So I just don't think that's that big of an issue. And I like the ballot initiative because I like leaving increases in your property taxes to the voter. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I have something.
Go ahead, Councilmember Richards, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to address my comment and question to Mr. Darga. First question, and I have three, I believe. In the time that you compiled these figures and you're combined with the Pazer study, who did your own company oversee it all or do all of it, or did you sub it out more or less to other companies to feed in on this overall dynamic of this project, especially Hagedorn, where I think we're all pretty much in agreement that the Hagedorn situation is #1 priority or pretty close to it. If you could answer that question first, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Sure. Back in 2013, members of the DPW and I think a member of HRC drove all the sites and came up with the initial PACER ratings. And then back late 2019, city manager got a grant through SEMCOG to update those PACER ratings, and HRC did those. And so the work was not subbed out, and it was originally started with members of the city DPW.
Okay, that's your answer on that. I think all of us need to know that. It goes back further than all of us are aware of how the actual surveys and estimates were conducted. Okay, my next question is, with Hagedorn being sort of a unique situation, what's wrong with the feasibility of approaching the residents and saying, look, you don't have any sidewalks, you don't have any curbs. If you want this street done right and within a year and a half, as we're able to do it, why couldn't we go with a combination of SAD along with what we can come up with on our millage increase, okay? To see how it goes for the first go around. Hagedorn being a really priority thing, okay? It seems to me that it would work excellently well because the residents that have lived there most of their lives are all primed and ready to see something come about here. I'm sure they would appreciate an evaluation, and I don't see why we can't do it, okay? And put it all house by house, special assessment district and a millage increase across the board for the whole city. I think the combo approach would work. What do you feel about that, Mr. Darga?
SADs are complicated. You're gonna have a hard time, I would think, getting your 51% yes votes. I think you'd be making it a pretty complicated system by doing that.
That's not an answer. please give me a more detailed explanation.
Councilmember Richards, if that was the answer that he had for you, that may be all he knows. So,
Okay, all right, okay.
Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead. Just a moment, Councilmember Richards. Councilmember Kurtzwell, go ahead.
The problem with special assessment districts, and I've actually litigated these over in Lyon Township, in which they did a horrible job in doing an SAD district, is on the collection side. So you can sit there and assess, let's say that your special assessment district has 70 homes or 80 homes. Let's do 100, let's round it up. Has 100 homes in the special assessment district. It's voted, 51% voted to include their home in the special assessment district. That means you have 49% that did not. The special assessment district now goes on your taxes. What homeowners do is they'll pay the property tax portion of the tax bill and will attempt to work out an installment plan with the local municipality to pay off that SAD over a period of time. Some SADs are issued, for 10 years, and this is what you pay for 10 years. Some are for 20 years. This is what you pay for 20 years. But the problem is what do you do with a homeowner that doesn't pay? Well, your option is to foreclose on the lien. So not only do you not get your money up front to pay HRC to come and do the road, you now are going to become a landowner with your foreclosures. So that's exactly what happened over in Lyon Township when they were holding all this land over there that was covered with SADs and sold off to developers fairly cheaply just so they could get out from underneath the SAD because the landowner couldn't afford to pay him. So the one of the complicating issues is on the collection side. You don't get your money up front. You don't get it all up front. Somebody is not going to pay. So you might as just well, roll it in and do a ballot initiative and get it on a ballot initiative where the cost is spread out throughout the city. And it's up to the city to do a good PR job to explain as to why one area should wait and another area should go first. I mean, that's life. Somebody's always going to be first and somebody's always going to be last. Just use good common sense and reason and people tend to understand. But SADs are difficult because you don't get all your money up front.
Thank you for sharing that, Councilmember Kurtzwell. I hope that helps you a little bit, Councilmember Richards. Did you have a third question for Mr. Darga?
Well, yeah, but okay. What's wrong with the possibility of looking at it? I've looked at it a number of times. Okay, certain portions of that street, right in the middle mostly, are worse than others. If you ride a bicycle down it, you can easily tell. Okay. What's wrong with doing the worst part of in the middle of the stretch in a high-class manner, okay, to start off with on the first go-around, and then addressing the other two ends, okay? And I'm talking about north of Lake Street all the way, not the south end. Just answer that question, please, Mr. Darga.
Well, we know that the sanitary sewer needs to be replaced out there. And when you replace the sanitary sewer, you have leads going across the street. That road's the whole thing's gonna get torn up. You're gonna end up replacing the base and the new pavement everywhere as soon as you touch that sewer. So that road is gonna be a full reconstruct.
Thank you for
Well,
your insight.
thank you. I'm frustrated, but go ahead. Thank you.
Well, I'm sure a lot of the folks that live on Hagedorn are frustrated too, and that's why we're here to try and come up with a solution. So I understand your frustration, Councilmember Richards. It's not a great situation to be in, but We need to take in the info from these folks. I want to thank Mike and Roland for being here to try and talk repairing streets with folks that don't have a ton of experience repairing streets. So I appreciate your insight. I tend to be leaning towards Councilmember Kurzweil's opinion on this. This is a huge, huge project, and really, it really should be our top project that we're working on, in my opinion. The infrastructure in this country from coast to coast has probably not been upkept, not just here, but in a lot of places. And there's a lot of people that are seeing bills like this. I would not feel comfortable trying to take on a project like this without taking it to the voters. So that is kind of my opinion. I am all ears. I am trying to be a sponge here. This is the topic of conversation that comes up each and every time I'm outside of my house. And it's not just the folks across the street. It's sometimes the folks over at Hagedorn, and they've been hearing the same answer for me for several years. And we need to find an answer for these people. And it's not going to fix itself. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'd love to hear if anyone else has an opinion on this. Roland, if you had anything to add, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry when you start looking at it.
Yeah, we did help the city of Berkeley a few years ago. They had a very similar problem, aging community, and they were able to pass a 10-year millage. And to one of the council members' points, they did not lay out. They didn't show their cards to the residents. That they didn't say which streets were going to be the lucky lotto winners, and that did seem to help garner support from the community. And as Paul mentioned, having at every third year, every fourth year, a concrete patching or a millage, or a kind of a more citywide, where you're touching lots of different areas, and people are seeing that their money is being spread out throughout the community and not just these lucky 4 or 5 streets throughout the city. That helped. They had some pretty low tech ways that they sold their millage. They had some like sandwich board signs that were around the city that were making people aware of it. And they had some town hall meetings, and they would schedule those on they would host the meeting at a road that was in need of great repair. So the residents could come out and really see how bad the roads are. When you walk a road that's in poor condition, it's actually, it looks a lot worse than when you're driving on it at 25 or 30 miles an hour. So those are just a couple of our recent experiences with a similarly sized community. And it is like you mentioned, Mayor, it's a statewide, a nationwide problem. I do sit on quite a few national engineering seminars, and whenever we talk about federal funding that would reach local streets, they say, don't hold your breath. It's not coming anytime soon. Unfortunately, you're left to your own devices, and you've got to figure out ways to fund road improvements locally with local money. So I appreciate the opportunity to add a little bit there.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
So to the city manager, if he's looking for direction, I'd be inclined to agree with Councilmember Kurzweil. I'd take it to the voters and go for the increase in the millage. And like I said, it has the entire population shoulder the burden that everybody's driving on all these roads. So that's probably the most equitable way of and efficient way of addressing the obligation there.
So
that would be my preference.
So what we can do, Mr. Mayor, is we can bring additional information back at the next council meeting. We can talk about what the dollar amount that we're looking at, or what the millage rate is, what the time frame for something like this would be. We'd look at putting things together for establishing that particular road committee, then start to identify that marketing plan. If in fact everybody is on board with whatever we decide, let's say at that next meeting, regarding what that millage rate might be that we put up to the voters, and letting them decide.
Councilmember Kurzweil, go ahead.
One other thing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that when you raise money through a specific mill, a road and tax improvement mill, the city has an obligation to hold that money specifically for roads. So you can't put it into the general fund and pay bills if there's going to be, let's say, another depression or a recession. That money stays in that fund. Am I correct?
That's correct.
That's the check and balance that I think is very important for the voters to understand. And I think that is a great marketing tip, that education tip that needs to be passed along. Anybody who is hesitant and distrustful of government spending money, and they obviously have reasons to have that impression. I think that the fact that this is secured money only for roads, it should make those that are a little bit queasy feel very good that at least they know that their roads at some point, you may not be number one on the list, but at some point your area will get fixed. And I think another thing too, to bring up in your marketing material is when the debt load is erased over there in the water treatment. I think that bond comes off, how many years, Patricia? I don't know, but if you go for a 10 or a 12 mil, a 10 or 12 year mill for roads, at some point the financing bond will drop off, and then you know, then it's a no-brainer at that point.
So the final question is the number of mills that we'll be looking at raising. Based upon looking at that approximately $2 million figure, we're looking at approximately 3 mills to reach that. And that also, we would also include the funds that we have, some funds from Act 51, as well as the additional mill that went into the approval tonight for the millage rate that would be transferred directly to major or local streets.
Well, why couldn't it? I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor.
You're fine, Councilmember Kurtz, so I'll go ahead.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to be recognized. Well, Paul, why couldn't, I'm just brainstorming right now. Why couldn't the mill, whatever that mill is going to be, maybe be 1.5 in the first 3 or 4 years, and then when the debt load is paid off over for the water, for the bond, then you increase it to 2.5, because you'll be able to pick up a mill or two off of that. I mean, I'm just saying, you replace it. You would replace the bond mill with an increase in the road mill.
You could do that. You could make there could be changes. It could be a certain millage rate for so many years and certain millage rate for so many years after that. I would, however, caution you is that millage rate, you're only looking at raising, going to the voters and asking for a 1 mil increase. That additional $400,000 is not going to be able to make an impact in order to do Hagedorn. You would have to save up 3 years of road funding in order to start to work on that particular project. And I think if people are going to look at any sort of road improvement program, they're going to expect to see improvements the year immediately following that millage rate increase.
Okay. Thank you.
I think those are all, I like it. We're trying to come up with some ideas here. I mean, we're not going to solve this problem tonight. But I like that we're kicking things around. We got to get there eventually. So
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Councilmember Richards. I was just going to ask if anyone else had anything.
Okay, this is the right point in time, I think, since the issue is on the table and we're discussing it. Now is the time to send out a letter to the residents, the taxpayers that live on Hagedorn and the associated streets like Ridge and Hickory Ridge. Okay, letting them know exactly what the dynamics and of our situation and total costs and methods or realities of ways that we can pay for this. Okay, before we pass something and maybe we can't do it before the next meeting, but at least we can work on through the end of June, so it would seem to me, to get this out to the public in a proper and efficient way, encompassing the real meat of the problem. Thank you. That's it.
Councilmember Richards, I assure you, if this is a decision that we decide to go with, we will be pounding the streets to get the information out to the voters and the taxpayers so they understand what is going on. We're still we're in the process of kind of coming up with a game plan on our own here. So I'll tell you what, that first field trip we're doing over there, I'll be sure to take you with me because I'm going to need help answering questions. So
what I would propose, Mr. Mayor, is that we prepare additional information for upcoming meetings, leave this on the agenda, discussion, the additional data that we have. Because if we in fact do decide or council votes to actually place something on the ballot, we do have the time constraints. So we will include that information for make sure everybody is aware of that. But also for everybody to understand is that we're putting something on the ballot. We're basically educating the public on this. We are not telling them you must pass this, you shall pass this, and we can't send out information that does that. We can just provide information about the ballot initiative.
yeah. And I also like the idea, and if anyone else has anything, please feel free, because this is going to take all of us. I think leaving it on the agenda until we have a game plan and possibly get it on the ballot, it can be a talking point each and every meeting until we get there. Councilmember Kibble.
I'd like us to do sort of incrementally where we're informed things that we've collectively decided were pretty solid to start with and build off of that rather than everybody trying to make assumptions of what it is that we're actually trying to accomplish. That we might be reviewing it and taking a different look at it than what everybody else is. And I think it's important we're all understanding there's benchmarks that we build off of.
And I can do that. I can start at a specific level and council can decide to go up and down based upon those further discussions.
All right, good talk.
Thank you, Roland and Mike, for assisting with that process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It all starts someplace. So this is a good start.
All right, moving on to new business this evening. New business number 1, resolution authorizing the request for reimbursement from Oakland County West Nile Virus Fund. Doug, the floor is yours, bud.
I apologize. I have the
That's
wrong
right.
in front of me. This is just an agenda though, right? I mean, this is just basically it's to.
It couldn't be more straightforward, yeah.
I didn't
it's
know if
pretty
you had any
straightforward.
comments on it.
We've done this last year. We're just doing it again this year. The dollar amounts don't line up. I can explain it off the top of my head because the dollar amount that's on there is slightly less than what we paid. That's because that's what the county authorized. So that's probably the only discrepancy that you guys can notice in the paperwork.
Councilmember Kennedy, go ahead.
So let's go ahead and make the motion to approve the resolution for reimbursement from the Oakland County West Nile Virus Fund in the amount of $1,546.18.
I'll support.
Ooh, you guys are too good at that. We're gonna go with Councilmember Walton and a nose. We have a motion by Councilmember Kennedy, supported by Councilmember Walton. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, great. Judy, could you please lead us in a roll call vote?
Sure. Councilmember Richards,
Yes.
Councilmember Kibble,
Yes.
Councilmember Walton,
Yes.
Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Yes.
Who did I miss? Councilmember Kennedy.
Yes.
Hold on.
Yep.
Councilmember Jilg
Yes.
and Mayor Pelchat.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. New business number 2 this evening, purchase and installation of 2 new 550-gallon double wall tanks, diesel and unleaded, for fueling vehicles and equipment at the DPW facility.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And obviously this one's the one I had in front of me. So the diesel storage tank out at the facility at the DPW is actually well past its useful life and no longer could be replaced with the exact same tank that's there. The new technology is a double walled tank. I've replaced one already at the clean water plant. You guys have already approved that. This is a similar tank in that construction. The current location is not compliant with a future potential building we'd like to have built at the facility there. So that's why we're replacing the tank. Attached are the 3 quotes, and although Corrigan's not the lowest, they do provide the service for switching of the tanks, meaning they actually have their own truck that has a crane that picks ours out, puts theirs where we want it. This planned expenditure can be purchased out of the building and equipment maintenance account under line item 101-440931, and all quotes are attached for you guys' review. And I'm happy to answer any further questions that might be.
Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the purchase of 2 double wall fuel tanks for the DPW facility for $7,682.40 plus fees to transfer the diesel and charge to the corresponding line item 101.440-931.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilmember Kurtzwell, supported by Councilmember Kennedy. Do we have any further discussion? Judy, once more in the roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Kivel,
Yes.
Councilmember Kurtzwell,
Yes.
Councilmember Richards,
Yes.
Councilmember Walton,
Yes.
Councilmember Dilg,
Yes.
Councilmember Kennedy,
Yes.
Mayor Pelchat.
Yes.
Motion
Thank you.
passes.
Thank you, Judy. With that, we'll move on to the budget this evening. Did we get enough budget earlier? Okay, and we'll move on to our second public comment. Please remember to state your name and address, and remember our 2-minute time limit.
I have Ryan Lear.
Mr. Lair, the floor is yours.
Yes, Ryan Lair, 716 Grand Court. I did forget to say that earlier, so I apologize. I forgot to say this earlier. Next Sunday, I will be doing a full sweep of the parade route, including the cemetery and Paul Baker Park. Larry's taking care of Reynolds Sweet Parkway. I do believe that Councilmember Kurtzweil is going to mention the dumping that's going on at the Parkway during her comments, so I'm going to leave that up to her. But I also want to thank HRC for their presentation tonight on the roads. I agree with Mayor Pelchat and Councilmember Kurtzweil that we definitely should get this to the voters. Hagedorn has been a problem for a long time. And when I was campaigning for mayor, along with Dan, that was one of my main pet projects was Hagedorn. And I can see that Dan is tackling this quite wonderfully. So thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. And I appreciate council putting Hagedorn most likely as a priority, because it is really bad. It's one of the baddest roads in the city, and the residents really do deserve relief down there. I also want to thank our city manager, who works 7 days a week to provide this city with the great resources that we have. He works tirelessly, meetings after meetings, and I think it's just he's not commended enough, and I think good praise is good when it's due. People can always criticize when things are going bad, but when you have a great city manager who is out running in the city and is going to all the different events, I think he should be recognized. We have a wonderful city hall. All the clerks in there work very hard. Patricia, Judy, Lisa, Carol. I think all those people just need to be recognized. There's a lot of people that work behind the scenes that keep the city running all the time. And as the ambassador of South Lyon, I think it's important that I recognize those people. So hats off to our wonderful city government. We're blessed to have you all. That's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lair. Judy, did it look like anyone else was volunteering to speak this evening?
No.
Okay, we will close public comment and move on to our manager's report.
First thing I want to do is thank Doug Varney. Doug, we need more agenda items like that, where they go just like that and everybody votes and everybody schedules all those questions. I want to bring up one of the items, the question that came earlier regarding West Lake Street. We've already initiated a road study looking at information on that section of road. We're already gathering data regarding speeds, number of vehicles, reviewing reports regarding records and tickets and such, to try to come up with some additional information regarding the speeds within that area. We'll also look at the items relating to crosswalks, because we'll be going through and painting crosswalks within the city very soon. What I updated council regarding that cemetery and volunteer park grading. We had 4 packets picked up for bids. No one bid. We made one initial contact with one of the bidders. They said the job was too small, and in fact, that they were extremely busy. They're extremely careful on what they're bidding on, and obviously to make the highest profit. We will be rebidding that and going back out again. So we may be making, if we do not get anything done before the end of this budget year, looking at next year and perhaps making a budget adjustment because we did not spend the dollars within this year's budget. We're still looking at information regarding the handicap accessible equipment at Caddy Park. I updated council regarding what's going on with that. I met with IT people for the school system regarding upgrading IT equipment within the council auditorium. They're recollecting the data and checking out the numbers that was originally bid a few months ago, but due to the change in prices within computer chips and the demand for such, those numbers may change. I want to remind everybody regarding the Memorial Day Parade on May 31st. The ceremony is going to take place in South Lyon, so you'll start to see the streets closed beginning at 9 a.m. and finishing everything up at the cemetery after 11. We were informed that someone had paid for privately a flyover from Willow One and from Ypsilanti of a B-25 that'll be flying over, but that flight will actually take place after the ceremony is over, sometime between 11:45 and 12 o'clock. I received an email on that just the other day. We are putting together the safety precautions in place for opening our office next week. We received some additional information from Michigan Department of Health and Safety regarding guidelines and rules and regulations. We're looking for information from the county still right now. We have to still provide a COVID-19 preparedness and response plan that we have to update within the office prior in fact to open and prior to all these particular changes, and posting for all those individuals who are going to be coming in and visiting the city, and those are for either vaccinated or non-vaccinated individuals. So I will update council on that as quickly as I can. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At the last meeting, I had mentioned that we needed the Reynolds Suite Parkway cleaned up, and unbeknownst to me, Ryan Lair jumped to the opportunity to be of service to the city. And he called me afterwards to tell me what he had done. And I was shocked at the trash that he picked up along Reynolds Suite Parkway. It was disgusting. And I'm sad that Ryan went and handled some of that trash. I mean, what a decent individual he was to just stay committed to cleaning up the city so that it would look nice for the Memorial Day Parade. I have since then gone back and taken a look at where that fence is. And my question is twofold. Number one, have you met with the management at South Lyon Woods, and have you spoken to them about cleaning up the fence that is on the interior of their property?
Yes, Mayor. Well, first of all, Doug Varney followed up with DPW and followed up with additional cleaning. So I got to commend Doug and his staff for following up that after Ryan did. So thank you, Ryan, for doing that. And our ordinance officer has placed a call out there to those individuals to meet with them regarding debris that is actually inside of their fence, or that could be originating from inside the fence and going outside the fence. So our ordinance officer is handling that discussion.
My second question is, it was Ryan's opinion that there was strong evidence of dumping going on. I mean, this just wasn't trash that somebody was throwing out of their cars they were driving by. I mean, it was piles of stuff that looked like it was coming out of somebody's home. And that was disturbing. When I went down this weekend to take a look at it, my next question is, who owns the land on the other side of the fence where all that trash was sitting? That trash was sitting probably about a foot off of the fence or closer. So I tried to follow the property line down to the laundromat, and it almost looks like that property is actually belongs to South Lyon Woods. Are you able to confirm that? I mean, not tonight, but at some point, could somebody confirm who owns the land on the other side of the fence? Because if it's South Lyon Woods, then they really need to step up and clean up their property, whether it's on the interior or the exterior. So thank you to Ryan and DPW for now, for the incredible work they did. That was a filthy job, just a filthy job. And they stepped up, but it may not be the city's responsibility. So, and if that's the case, then we need to really start working with South Lyon Woods to ensure that this does not happen again. They got somebody in there cutting the grass. They can take that person and say, you take a half hour and you walk the property line and you pick up the garbage. Every other community does it. There's no reason why South Lyon Woods can't do it too. Thank you.
Councilmember Kivel, did you have something?
Yeah, actually I did. Regards to West Lake, when this had taken place at the county, unfortunately, this is one traffic control order that goes from Dixboro all the way out to Farmington. So that was why the county was pretty adamant that they wanted to end up just going forward and changing the speed limit in town here. A number of us along this, what we consider our neighborhood along this, it's a linear neighborhood along 10 Mile, feel that this is just that people walk down the streets, this is their front yards are on the street. There's some devices that, when you're doing the Pacer or the 85 percentile kind of formulaic thing, it's not really a reflection of some of the other devices that the Michigan State Police has at hand. There are also, I forgot what they're called. It's like
warrants.
Well, no, when the amount of access points per mile are another vehicle that we actually meet that calculation. It's just on a smaller scale. We only have between, say, Hagedorn and the other side of Pontiac Trail, it's like a half of a mile, but we meet whatever that access point formula is. I'd like us to try to investigate whether or not we might be able to get a little bit more consideration given to the fact that everybody, this is our subdivision. It just happens to be on 10 Mile. Another thing I wanted to ask about was, has there been any movement on the library property?
I made another contact with the individual, sent a letter. I've not received anything back. I'm going to be moving forward as if they have decided to decline to work with the city, and then we will be reinitiating and taking bids on that particular property like we did the last time.
Okay, just if you could remind me, how long did that take to try to vet who would have a good proposal?
Well, initially we had, I think it was 30 or 60 days of receiving bids. We had phone calls, we had contacts made with individuals. And then this particular group had been the organization that felt was best fitted to actually move forward. The other individuals were no longer interested. So we'll continue to take bids and move this process along because we definitely want to get something done.
Yeah, I'd just like to see us be a little bit more proactive and rather than waiting on everybody to step up and fulfill their responsibilities. So.
Well, we were very proactive. We had numerous meetings with those individuals.
Oh, I'm not suggesting otherwise. It's just that once they started to be recalcitrant that they weren't going to respond to any of your reaching out to them, it's time to start reevaluating where we're at. So that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Councilmember Walton, did you have something?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Really quick, I have a question in regards to sidewalks. McCaddy Park, we don't have a sidewalk leading into McCaddy Park, coming from along, I guess it would be Warren Street that enters into the park. In front of the new apartment buildings, we put a section there, but it doesn't complete all the way through to McCaddy Street. So I'm just wondering if there's any thoughts to putting in sidewalk there.
Yeah, we would have to completely redesign the roadway, change the ditch line, and looking at redoing the road. That would definitely be a part of a much larger project in order to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Kennedy, did you have something?
Yeah, just for clarification, I think that's Washington Street there, not Warren, but
Thank you.
the other question I had, Paul, was any information on the house on Detroit Street? As far as where that stands?
Nothing I have to report. I'll have to check with building department what was transpired, because I know we initiated a letter in the new contact about starting the process for them making repairs to that particular building. I'd have to check with the building department. Sorry, I don't have that tonight for you.
No problem. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Councilmember Walton, did you have another one?
Actually, I want to clarify, Washington Street is the street that Active Faith is on. That does not lead to the parking lot of McCaddy. It is Warren that leads to the parking lot.
My apologies then, sorry.
I agreed with you at first, then I had to think about it. So all those W streets. So as long as we're good, thank you.
Anyone else have anything for Paul tonight? All right, great. With that, we'll move on to council comments. Councilmember Dill, why don't you start us off tonight?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a couple quick things. It was a couple weeks ago now, but I had the privilege of being one of the people who interviewed high school students for their class where they practice their interviewing skills. And I just wanted to say we have some impressive high school seniors at in South Lyon Community Schools. They were intelligent, articulate, driven, made me proud to be from here. And I don't think they didn't seem to have missed a step with this pandemic. I was just really, really impressed with these students. They have it way more together than I did when I was a senior. So I was really pleased that I got a chance to be able to do that. And then the other thing I just want to say, congrats and an official welcome to Preferred Pet Salon. Steve and I, Councilmember Kennedy and I got to go to the ribbon cutting this weekend, and they're very excited to be a business in our community. So I just wanted to give them a welcome and congratulations. And that's where my cat goes. And they do a great job grooming him. So that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Dill. And just briefly, I'll piggyback on that. I participated in the interviews, and I think I said that exact thing to a couple of them, that you have a great head on your shoulder. Keep it up, because you're ahead of where I was. So very funny. Councilmember Walton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got actually a few things for tonight, and I'm going to start off with what a busy week we are going to have here this week in South Lyon, starting with Wednesday in the Lake Street Cruise. And I don't know if this will show up because of my background, but we do have the Lake Street Cruise and starting on Wednesday. So if everyone wants to come out and enjoy the cars. On Monday is Memorial Day. We are having the Memorial Day Parade. We are lining up at 8 a.m. We start off at 9 o'clock sharp. We go up 10 Mile to Reynolds Street Parkway Boulevard, over to the Stryker Street, into the cemetery. People are welcome to walk. And if you want to get involved in the parade, please contact Dana Johnston at 248-437-5046. The next thing I want to do is wish Lieutenant Bakke a very happy birthday. I hear that it's his birthday tomorrow. And the last thing I want to talk about is my, I made mention earlier that I've been out of town. I got the pleasure to run in a group called Ragnar, and it's a 24-hour run where 8 people on your team constantly running. It's about 200 miles-ish. And we ran this year in Zion National Park. And the picture behind me is actually taken in Bryce Canyon where we hiked afterwards. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is Ragnar is a JDRF fundraiser, Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and they wanted to say that they're united in the common purpose of creating a world without type 1 diabetes. So I just want to bring that to everyone's attention, maybe look into it and consider making donations to JDRF. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Thank you. Councilmember Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a few short ones here. I'd just like to let everybody know that at the last farmer's market, I took the time to look in the windows at the old Draft Street building right there in the corner. And I was surprised, but oh well. The old horseshoe that was on this inside where the restaurant and later the bar was located is all gone. Kind of sorry to see it go, but this, you got to move on. The whole ceiling has been removed, and you can go right up and look right up to the rafters of the original building. I was one of the only people that ever climbed in that and did some repair work. Time marches on. The back wall is gone. That's been moved to another wall further back, along with various floor coverings that were present in the building. And I hope the whole thing works out well and best for the city and the new owners of the investment group that are trying to do something with the building and make a go of it. I think we all need to be aware of it, that something's got to go there, and rather than just let it sit. I'm very pleased to see some new development. Okay, next, I just want to reach out to let everybody know our attorney for the township, Mr. Phil Weipert, thank him. I talked to him personally today for contacting the Oakland County Drain Commission regarding problems we have at Yerkes and some of the other drains in the city. Thank you ever so much. It looks like you got the ball rolling. And moving on, I want to make a mention of the contribution of our Methodist Church. At the last, in May 2nd, when they had the mission outreach team that they formed to contribute and help out at the Witch's Hat Museum area. There was over 170 people that arrived for the event at the church. And there were 24 different teams, and they targeted 18 different locations, not all of them in the city. I believe 2 teams were at the Witch's Hat Museum that day. I was there, but I just did a few other things. They also go to hit target areas at requests in Lyon Township, Northfield, Green Oak, and in Salem Township. And thank you to our Methodist Church, who's been one of the stabilizing historical factors in the community since before railroads, electric lines, automobiles, radios, and the turn of the century. Anyway, I thought that was worth mentioning. And also to close out, best wishes for all the prom goers that are venturing out to celebrate graduation or springtime this year, and not only in our community, if we have some of that, and in the other communities surrounding us. Best wishes. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Richards. Councilmember Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also had the pleasure to have been asked by South Lyon High School to participate in those interviews. And as Councilmember Dilg and Mayor Pelchat mentioned, the students were impressive. I mean, they were well prepared. They have their goals set. They've got a plan in place on how they expect to achieve them. I think it's a great course that the school has made available to them, and I can't think of a better opportunity for them to actually participate in an interview and then get feedback immediately following that on things that went well, things that could be improved, and things that'll hopefully help them as they go after their jobs in the future. So again, certainly appreciate being part of that. It was a good experience for me as well as for the students, I hope. Also, just to mention what Councilmember Walton said, yeah, please come on out to support the Lake Street Cruise-In starting this Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. and the fourth Wednesday of every month through September, with the exception of July, when we'll have the all-day Motor Fest. So come check out the great cars, get some wonderful food from the great restaurants, and it's going to be a terrific evening. So come on out and enjoy yourself. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Kennedy. Councilmember Kurzweil.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I want to thank the Women of Mary who invited me to speak about 2 hours about gardening. We had a great group from women all over the city, and I'm just so excited about the attendees who came, where they went home with plants, they went home with seeds, and hopefully a renewed appreciation for gardening. So thank you, ladies, for inviting me. We had a great crowd, over 30 women that were there, and it was just great meeting people that have a real strong interest in improving and making our city look gorgeous, including the women that are down there at Colonial Acres, improving their front as you drive by on Pontiac Trail. Next, I also would like to remind everybody about Lake Street. My particular interest in Lake Street, the cruise-in, is going to be the sponsors this summer. So to set off, I would like to thank Sellers Buick GMC, Southline Collision, Lyon Homescape, Quicksilver Marketing Solutions with Roger, Art Creations, Performance Creative Resources. So there'll be more to come. Thank you, individuals, you sponsors, for making this just an absolutely incredible event in the city of South Lyon. Also, I want to thank all the individuals that invited me to the graduation parties. Yes, this is great. You're going to be able to sit outside, shake hands. I'm a hugger, so I'm sure there'll be a couple of hugs. So congratulations to everybody that is graduating, and I'll be seeing many of you soon. Last, we do have Memorial Day coming up, and I hope that everybody keeps in mind what Memorial Day is. Well, I think we sort of look at Memorial Weekend as the opportunity to plant our plants and get out and open our windows and pull out our lawn furniture and move outside for the summer. Let's not forget what Monday is all about, is the incredible individuals that served our country, that knelt before God and stood before the American flag and carried their banners and went and fought for freedom. So everybody, please, if you see a veteran, please thank them for everything they did, for all the rights that we had, including our Second Amendment rights, our First Amendment rights, everything that our country stands for. So God bless every veteran on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Kurzweil. Councilmember Kibble.
Pretty much get in line for the car show. I'm hoping everybody keeps their fingers crossed that the weather is cooperative. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been a long time since we were been able to get out there and enjoy that. And I just happened to be at the retirement ceremony for South Lyon resident and Lyon Township DDA director, Tina Archer. And one of the fellows that I bumped into first there was the guy that does the music and sings the national anthem at the beginning of the show. And he couldn't have been any more gassed up about the idea of the show starting up again. So he was telling me his whole agenda and his schedule of all these things that he's got going. So that gets me kind of wound up too. And lastly, just the race building, the RCA building, Dan Schwagler's building. Just to see the transitioning that's taking place down there has really been remarkable. And I was grateful that he had the same interest in retaining the race cornerstone that was up in the belt line. I made a suggestion to him. The way they had it was going to end up just being a hold for bird nests. So they ended up going back in there and restructuring it where they cut the bottom of that little opening out so that birds can't take purchase in there. And he was really very, very happy to do that because it's in his best interest to not have hazards in that place. But he was making a suggestion that they're hopeful that the beginning of August, they should be pretty much finishing things up. So that'll end up being a real exciting time once that building is up and running. So that's all I had. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Kibble. I just got two quick things. I definitely am very much looking forward to working with each and every one of you to come up with a game plan for these roads. And so that includes the city manager and everyone else. I mean, this isn't just us folks figuring this out. We're going to need the community to get informed and get them involved. And that's real work. And I'm proud of us. And I'm looking forward to tackling that long can kick down the road. And I know we can do it together, and I look forward to doing that. That'll be something that we can all be proud of here down the road. Memorial Day is a sacred American holiday. I'm very proud of the community and Dana Johnston and her unbelievable effort to continue the Memorial Day parade tradition in our community. So I look forward to seeing folks on Monday morning. Fingers crossed for good weather, but I know we'll be there anyways. So I hope everyone has a great week. Enjoy the extra week off here before the next meeting, and we'll see you in June. I'll look for a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Kurtzwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Move to adjourn.
Have a great night, all.
Good night.
Aye.